Bam, there we go. So I come to you on the night of the New Mexico Music Awards. So if some of you guys aren't familiar with the New Mexico Music Awards, they are basically the equivalent of the Grammys to New Mexico, right? So unfortunately this year, I submitted my song, It Won't Kill Me, and its video to be nominated to be considered for Video of the Year. And unfortunately, I was snubbed. And it couldn't have come at a worse time for me because it was the week after I had been attacked. So because of that, I was already very, very frail, and like I wanted to have something else to look forward to, and like it would have just been a great, you know what I mean, just like a great thing to have. But unfortunately, this year I did not get validation from the New Mexico Music Awards. But I have before. See, back in 2008, I was nominated for Best Hip Hop Song of the Year for my song, I'm Sorry. Now, what type of message does that send to an artist who is nominated one year, but then not nominated another year? And why is it so important, and why do we need to have this conversation now? Because when we don't have this conversation, what's happening is that I feel like my state, New Mexico, is still so behind in times because of this very apparent reason. So, if you are not from New Mexico, and you're not, or maybe you are, and maybe you're just not familiar with the New Mexico music scene. The New Mexico music scene is kind of like old Mexico's music, very, very traditional type of sounds, messaging, and like, just like New Mexico, it's about 40 years behind in the times. So, when you are an artist like myself, I consider myself to be a pop artist. So when I say pop artist, I mean that I am unapologetic. I am obviously very controversial, and also I am very I'm very in with the trends. Now, when you are trying to get relevance in a place like New Mexico, it's obviously going to be difficult for somebody to give you recognition when you are somebody who stands out the way that I do in the ways that I do, because I am very, very non-traditional. So because of that, I know that it probably was hard for them to try to accept me as a nominee for my video that I had. There was vulgarity in it, there was drugs in it, there was sex in it. So maybe because of that reason alone, well, you know, it makes sense why I wasn't nominated. But let me tell you about when I was nominated. So the year was 2008, right? I was 17 years old, and just like now, I was going through it. But at this time, I actually was able to get a break, and I was nominated. And I was 17, and I was so excited. Best Hip Hop Song of the Year. So it wasn't until I got the actual nomination ballot in the mail that I realized that, of course, every category has 5 categories, right? I realized that my category only had 3 people nominated in the category. So, of course, I would like to think that, well, the New Mexico Music Awards has a vetting process, and because of the fact that other people who submitted their entries weren't as good as my music or the other 2 nominees, that's probably why they weren't even put in the category. I'd like to think that. But was it probably because of the fact that I had paid $50 to even submit myself into the category, and because of that, since nobody else had submitted themselves into the category, then it probably was the fact that they only put in the people who had paid to get in there. And I did. I was one of 3. And this year when I submitted, I obviously submitted to a category that is, you know, probably a lot more popular than Best Hip Hop Song of the Year was at the time, which is Best Video of the Year. And yet again, I'm, you know, just like I said, I was snubbed this year. And when you look at the people who were nominated this year, you'll notice that there is quite a similar trend. For one, all the nominees, they have really good videos. I'll give them that. Quality of videos. Because when I say quality, I mean the camera quality was superb. I chose to shoot my video on an iPad, or on an iPod. It was on an iPhone 7. So I guess I didn't have the best quality as these other music videos. But when you look at the actual context of what is in the music videos, you'll notice that all 5 of these videos are performance videos. And a performance video, in case you guys are kind of new to this, a performance video is when you see an artist basically in front of the screen just performing, and there's nothing really else. There's no storyline, there's nothing. And that's exactly what the nominees in this year were. Nothing but nominees of videos that were basically them looking pretty with some type of screen behind them. I think one video did have a kind of like a relationship type of narrative going on behind it, but definitely not a storyline. Because when you think of my music video, It Won't Kill Me, every single part of the music video, there is some type of action, something new being introduced to the audience that is not introduced prior to. I fucking storyboarded every, I'm sorry, I said I wouldn't cuss in this video. I storyboarded every single moment of my music video. Like, literally, I had a whole wall full, and you guys can even check on my YouTube. You will see that I storyboarded every single frame of this music video. The music video did have a very apparent story. It had a love story in it. I was also being chased by ghosts. It was arguably kind of like a short horror film in that sense. But I was not nominated. I was not considered. I was not even mentioned. You know what I mean? And I know that trying to seek validation from an award show is probably not the best way to go about getting validation, but you have to give me a break, because when you're in this industry, the music industry, the entertainment industry, our validation is awards and, of course, you know, obviously fans and getting money. But when you are starting out, one of the best ways to either break an artist or break like a movie is by getting nominated for awards. So for me to have put so much time into this music video, done it very, very artistically, and then to not be nominated against these videos that had, only thing that they had was a good camera, sends quite a bad message to an artist like myself. But let me give you some more context, okay? So when I was in 7th grade, I had an English teacher. He was supposed to be this great English teacher, and we were all supposed to impress him. So it was when he first had me write a poem. So I wrote a poem, and I went above and beyond when I wrote this poem. I made the poem rhyme. I was really, really, you know, I got really, really deep for being a 7th grader. And lo and behold, when I got my grade back, it was a 40. A 40, like a really, really bad F. And when I got asked to we do it because it was such a low grade, I ended up plagiarizing the song The Rose by Bette Midler. Because I thought, well, there's probably no way that he would know that it was that song. And then even if he did, he wouldn't admit to knowing it in front of a class of 7th graders. And lo and behold, I got an 88 on it. So what type of message does that send to somebody? So let me bring us back to the New Mexico Music Awards. So again, back in 2008, I was nominated because I basically had paid the $50. It was $50 back then, by the way, to actually submit yourself for a category. This year, it was only $20, so it is somewhat of a discount. But arguably, I paid for that nomination, and that's all it was just me getting, was basically me just buying myself this certificate, which honestly, 10 years later, looking back on it, it hasn't got me any more gigs, it hasn't got me any more relevance in this community, it hasn't got me any press. So arguably, it's like, what was the significance of it? And looking back on it, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit to think that, you know what, the New Mexico Music Awards could have at least given me the decency of maybe, putting in 2 other people into that category to make it look like there was at least 5 people who had submitted themselves into that category to actually, give us a little bit of fucking, decency. But they didn't. They didn't. They instead let it basically be known that you can basically buy yourself into the New Mexico Music Awards. Now, 10 years later, me having paid and not being able to buy myself into the New Mexico Music Awards, the message that sends to an artist who is trying to elevate New Mexico, who is trying to build us up, who is trying to leave this place better than what you found it. I'm sorry, I'm spitting. It sends a message that authenticity and that real passion in art isn't anything in this community, is what it says to me. It says to me that I need to worry about having more money and being able to, put out this, HD quality picture, and that's all that's gonna matter, because no one's gonna give a crap if I put in a storyline, if I put in my artistic flair, if I storyboard the whole thing. It will just be second best to a video that had a better camera quality. And can I just say, being a New Mexican, I don't know if the people who, are, I imagine the people that run this award show are New Mexicans, but being a real New Mexican, by saying that I am poor like most New Mexicans, to not get my video nominated in a category with other people who obviously just had more money than me, I don't know what that is supposed to do for our state. Like, how is that supposed to elevate us? I thought the award shows and like the New Mexico Music Award are of course to celebrate us, but when they don't give nominations to certain people who are really, really in the, I be in the trenches trying to make this place a better place, you know what I mean? Whether it's being outside, trying to get people excited about the Pride Parade, or, just encouraging people, daily with my music, you know what I mean? I am the epitome of what is somebody trying to make this state a better place. Why wouldn't I be nominated? Why wouldn't I be given that type of validation? At least an honorary award, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, that's kind of like me cussing. You have to excuse me getting all emotional about it, but obviously, for me to do what I do, I have to have a lot of passion. And that passion can, because of my age, can, come out in anger. But know that I am a very civilized person. I am somebody who can, comprehend stuff. And I'm also a very professional person who has chosen art and music as my career choice. So, for me, trying to break barriers in this state is something that is required for me to be able to get to the place that I'm trying to get to. Now, unfortunately, with all of these messages, because to me, New Mexico Music Awards is saying something very, very clear to me, it makes me feel as an artist that, yet again, I need to leave this state. That this state is never going to give me the validation or even acknowledgement because of certain barriers, biases, old ways of thinking that are still keeping our state way behind. Because I think one reason, I hate to say this, but that, maybe an apparent reason about why I'm not embraced is because, some people may think that I am basically gay, you know what I mean? Because I paint myself or something, And let's be honest, New Mexico is not a very gay state. It's not very gay friendly. Jesus Christ, even some of the organizations that represent gay out here have their own biases and prejudices against our own people. Because if you look at me, I am the epitome of what a New Mexican is, who is trying to make the best of his situation. Hands down. If you don't know my story, go through my posts, 5 posts down max. You would know my story. You would know who I am. You would know what I'm going through, being in the state, trying to represent the state, trying to bring the state up. And when I don't get validation from my community, thankfully for me, I like to think that I'm strong enough so that I can oversee it. I can overlook it, and I can continue to go on being the badass mofo that I am, and continue to strive to, accomplish the goals that are impossible. But I just want to say that not other people are as strong as I am. And when you send this type of message to New Mexicans, you basically make it so that we are yet again going to be another place that is going to be another place which
is the worst place to grow up. We're going to be have nothing to look forward to but the Breaking Bad narrative.
And the Breaking Bad fantasy that some people arguably live out here, because that's all we're told that we can have out here. We're told that we just break into cars out here and that we just do the stuff that is done in Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? It just isn't good for the community. So what I hope is that in 2021's New Mexico Music Awards, I obviously hope that I'm nominated, but I hope that the people and the voters can see past the surface and the prejudices that we all have and be able to see artists and recognize arts and people who are trying to make a difference in our community and trying to make this a better place while nobody's watching. You know what I mean? Those are the people that I think that we should really get, you know, who like we should get behind, and you know who we should support. So I'm a New Mexico music artist. If you guys are booking for any shows out here, please consider having me a part of your show. You know what I mean? I'm a good singer. I can also put on, you know, I can put out quite an outrageous show too at the same time. But of course I can keep it PG at the same time. You know what I mean? So I would still make a good addition to any type of show that you're having. You know what I mean? I'm just all about elevating New Mexico to that next place. And I hope that this video didn't at all come off as disrespecting to the New Mexico Music Awards or the people that are involved in it or any of the nominees whatsoever. This was just me seeing something and wanting to kind of voice my opinion on it in hopes that I can make our state more forward-thinking and in general a better place to live. I'm EDM music artist Evan's Explosion, and I really appreciate you guys watching tonight, and vote for me for next year for 2021 Best Video of the Year. Thank you for watching.